Welcome to Mixtape Videos. Today, we're counting down the top 10 greatest MVP seasons in NBA history. Now, there are a lot of different ways to rank MVP seasons. We're focusing on the individual season and how well the player performed compared to other MVP seasons. The team's record and accomplishments are somewhat taken into account, but we're mostly looking at the player and how great of a season they had and how much they contributed to winning. So, enough with the apologies, let's get started. Number 10, Larry Bird in the 1984 to 1985 season. The 85 Celtics was one of the greatest teams ever, featuring 4 Hall of Famers, including Larry Bird. However, what makes this season so special for Bird is that despite playing with 3 other Hall of Famers, he still stood out as the best player and the most valuable. And for good reason. He basically did it all for the Celtics, leading the team in points and steals and coming close to leading the team in rebounds and assists. In all, he averaged 28.7 points, 10.5 rebounds, 6.6 assists, 1.6 steals, and 1.2 blocks per game. Number 9, Steph Curry in the 2015 to 2016 season. You knew we had to include the MVP for the team with the most wins ever. Like the 85 Celtics, the 2016 Warriors were loaded with talent, but Curry was the face of the team and the most dynamic player, putting on a show with crazy threes and clutch plays. In fact, Curry finished with the 5th highest PER of all time among MVP winners and was top 10 in win shares per 48 minutes. Again, all time. He led his team in points, steals, and shimmies while averaging over 30 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals per game, becoming the first unanimous MVP ever. Number 8, Shaquille O'Neal in the 1999-2000 season. Shaq was a monster in his prime, and the 2000 season was right at the pinnacle of that. He averaged nearly 30 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game, which sounds more like Wilt Chamberlain numbers than anyone we've seen in the past few decades. He led the league in points, field goal percentage, and win shares, and led his team in points, rebounds, and blocks, finishing with the 8th highest PER for MVPs. He also won Finals MVP, capping off one of the most dominant seasons ever. Number 7, Wilt Chamberlain in the 1965-1966 season. Here's an example of how unbelievably amazing Wilt was. In the 1966 season, Wilt led his team not just in points and rebounds per game, but he also led the team in assists per game. And that wasn't even his best season assist-wise. The 1966 NBA season was full of talented players like Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, Bill Russell, and Rick Barry. However, even going against all that talent, the 76ers finished with a better record than the Celtics, Lakers, and Royals. The Sixers had a couple of other talented players in Hal Greer and Chet Walker, but there's no doubt that Wilt was what made that team win games. I mean, he averaged 33.5 points and 24.6 rebounds per game, and led the team to a 55-25 record. Number 6, Michael Jordan in the 1995-1996 season. This list just wouldn't be complete without the GOAT, MJ himself. Jordan actually shows up a couple of times on our list, but we're starting with the 95-96 season, when the Bulls went 72-10, completing the greatest season in NBA history, in our opinion. This wasn't Jordan's greatest season from an individual standpoint, which is pretty crazy since he still averaged over 30 points, 6.5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals per game, leading his team in points and steals. The league basically didn't stand a chance. This was MJ's era, and everyone else was just the audience. He led the league in points, points per game, win shares, and usage percentage. Number 5, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the 1970 to 1971 season. It seems like Kareem is so widely accepted as an all-time great that we rarely take a look at just how great he was. His 6 MVP awards are a good example of that, and the 1971 season was among the highlights. Keep in mind that this was Kareem's 2nd season in the league. As a sophomore, he averaged nearly 32 points and 16 rebounds. Blocks and steals weren't counted at this time, but we can only imagine what his stat line would have been like if they were. Even without those numbers, in the 1971 season, Kareem recorded the second most win shares per 48 minutes in NBA history as a 23-year-old. So, who has the record for the most win shares per 48 minutes? That would be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the 1971-1972 season, the very next year. Again, this is without complete stats being tracked, which would have undoubtedly raised his numbers even more. In the 1972 season, Kareem was even better than in 1971, averaging nearly 35 points and 17 rebounds per game, along with 4.6 assists. And the league was still full of talent. Kareem was going up against guys like Wilt Chamberlain, Wes Unseld, Nate Thurmond, Elvin Hayes, and Jerry West. He led all those guys in points, points per game, PER, offensive win shares, and win shares per 48 minutes, leading his team to an amazing 63-19 record. Number 3, LeBron James in the 2012-2013 season. Okay, so to be clear, the 2013 Heat were loaded. The starting lineup featured LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and Ray Allen. But remember, we're just looking at the MVPs themselves and their individual season. And man, did LeBron have an amazing season in 2013. He led his team in points, rebounds, and assists, and nearly led in steals. Even more amazing, LeBron recorded the third most win shares per 48 minutes among MVP winners in league history, the fourth highest PER, and the fifth highest VORP, again among MVP winners. Bottom line, this was one of the greatest individual seasons ever, and we're still at number 3. Number 2, LeBron James in the 2008-2009 season. Honestly, LeBron probably could have won the MVP award every year he was in Cleveland. He did everything, carrying the team from the lottery to the finals. No season was a better example of this than the 2009 season, when LeBron led the Cavs in points, rebounds, assists, and steals, and nearly blocks. LeBron was the king this season, averaging 28.4 points, 7.6 rebounds, 7.2 assists, 1.7 steals, and 1.1 blocks per game. He finished in the top 5 all-time in win shares per 48 minutes, PER, and VORP among MVP winners. Number 1, Michael Jordan in the 1987-1988 season. Okay, so if you thought that season was awesome, listen to Jordan's stat line in the 1988 season. 35 points, 5.5 rebounds, 5.9 assists, 3.2 steals, and 1.6 blocks per game. He led his team in points, steals, and blocks. He nearly tripled the team's second leading scorer's points per game and recorded the highest PER and VORP in league history among MVP winners. He led the league in 18 categories, including steals, total and per game, points, total and per game, win shares per 48 minutes, and box plus minus. This was not just the greatest MVP season ever, it's one of the greatest seasons ever, period. So what do you think of our list? Who do you think had the greatest MVP season? Let us know in the comments. We've also started a conversation on Pundit about this, so make sure you download the app and share your voice on the topic. Make sure you follow us on social media to get updates as soon as we post a new video, and follow me on Twitter at MTV_Sydney. Those are my sound effects for the closing animation. You're welcome.